We've all seen it, or at least been tempted by it. Checking a daily horoscope online, watching a tarot card reading, or calling a TV psychic to ask about future marriage prospects. In Islamic theology, indulging this curiosity carries a severe penalty. Merely visiting a fortune teller, even if you're just doing it for entertainment, voids the acceptance of a person's prayers for 40 straight days. And if a person actually believes what that fortune teller says, the ruling escalates. It is classified as an active act of disbelief in the Quran itself. This strict prohibition brings up an obvious question. If Islamic doctrine insists that God alone possesses knowledge of al-ghaib, the realm of the unseen, how do these psychics occasionally get things right? The occasional accuracy of these predictions suggests a hidden exchange is taking place, an illicit transfer of data occurring just outside our field of vision. To understand how this works, we have to look at how information moves in Islamic cosmology. Angels regularly gather in the clouds to receive and discuss divine decrees regarding earthly affairs. This is where the theft happens. Malevolent entities, known as jinn, physically stack themselves on top of one another, forming a massive vertical chain that stretches up toward the heavens to eavesdrop on the angels. This perimeter is heavily guarded. Flaming stars, which appear to us on Earth as meteors, are fired as projectiles to strike the eavesdropping jinn and shatter their formations. But occasionally, right before being struck, a single jinn at the very top of the stack manages to snatch a single word of truth from the angels. That jinn instantly drops the stolen word down the chain. As that piece of data travels down to the earthly realm, the jinn attach 100 lies to it. By the time this data reaches the lips of an earthly sorcerer, it is heavily corrupted. That specific ratio, one stolen truth buried inside 100 fabrications, forces victims to swallow a massive web of deception simply because they witnessed one detail that turned out to be correct. Magicians on Earth leverage this illicit supply chain to launch targeted spiritual attacks against individuals. These assaults take physical forms. Sorcerers rely on the evil eye, cast specific spells, and ritualistically blow on complex, tight knots to bind their victims. For the victim, the impact is both physical and deeply psychological. They experience waswasa, a severe, overwhelming paranoia characterized by dark whispers and sudden crippling anxiety. Desperate for relief, victims often seek out other psychics, fortune tellers, or healers who claim they can break the curse. These practitioners operate using the exact same illicit networks, driving the victim further into the system that poisoned them in the first place. Engaging with magic or fortune-telling is never a passive act of curiosity. It requires active participation in a malevolent supply chain specifically designed to sever a person's connection to their creator. There is a sanctioned protocol to dismantle these attacks, known as ruqya. It uses the direct, unadulterated words of the Quran to shatter this dark supply chain. The first tactical phase operates like a sword. It uses specific recitations to actively curse the sorcerers and petition God to dismantle demonic helpers. These recitations seek out and undo the physical manifestations of sorcery, severing hidden ties and unbinding the knots the magicians created. This is followed by the second tactical phase, the fire. This involves reciting highly specific verses from the Quran that detail divine punishment and fire. In the context of ruqya, these verses are weaponized spiritually. They actively burn, weaken, and forcefully expel the malevolent entities carrying out the attack on the victim. Ruqya shifts the power dynamic. It demonstrates that stolen data gathered in the dark loses its potency when brought into the light and confronted with the direct words of the Creator. Even after the malevolent entities are expelled, surviving a spiritual attack leaves the victim deeply exhausted. They require a transition from active combat to intensive recovery. This is the final tactical phase, the salve. It relies on a specific set of verses dedicated entirely to shifa, which means healing, and sakina, which means tranquility. These verses function medicinally. They pour profound peace into a fractured mind, healing the physical ailments and washing away the anxiety left by waswasa. While relying on creation through astrologers and spells leads to an unstable cycle of paranoia, The path of the Creator offers a terminal point of security. True protection and lasting peace do not come from stealing fragmented answers from the unseen. They come from seeking refuge in the single, ultimate authority that governs it.